Uncatchable, freedom as it is. Episode 2, The Patio Wall. I couldn't believe what had happened to me. My memory was able to clean up the memories, but the impressions were as vivid as a burn. This gave me an indication to doubt less about the events of the previous night. I began to get restless, curious if the same thing would happen at night. The longer it took, the more impatient I became, as if the phenomenon was calling me in some way, and to top it off, the sun seemed to be playing a cruel joke on me by not wanting to hide. The hours were like a snail, and my monotomatic mind was beginning to ache. The questions accumulated at great speed, but I knew that for the moment, I only had two ways to answer them, through books or through experience. I then sat in a corner of the playground watching my fellow prisoners, meditating and meditating. I found myself staring at them very intently, which did not take long to cause problems. "Hey, Ray, have you switched sides? Do you want me to take off my shirt?" one of my few friends asked. "Well, no, Nando, my head already hurts enough for me to feel like vomiting," I replied. Suddenly, and due to my few reflexes, I felt like I was hit by a speeding train, and I landed on the ground with a cloud of dust around me. Thrown to the ground and with a whirlwind of dust around me, my entrails returned to normal, and I jumped up. Having calculated all my actions in my mind so as not to hurt my friend, the plan was to push him from below upwards so that the fall would be harder. To my surprise and terror, I kept going, went through Nando's body, and ended up landing on the ground almost 10 meters from where I was. What had happened? The answer came to me when I turned my head and saw Nando kneeling beside my inert body, trying to wake me up with his usual sweetness. Nando's sweetness was a blessing to discover how my new state of consciousness worked. I quickly realized that I wasn't dead. Nando's blows resonated in my spirit like the sound of thunder nearby. Needless to say, the famous silver cord was visible to me, with some characteristics that, in my opinion, would give it a better explanation and a different name. Being very amused by Nando's reactions and seeing a tear running down his cheek, I decided to return to my body. But the joke he made when I looked at him like a statue with egg eyes made me want to make him suffer a little more. I was sure I could go further. Nando's blows and screams became like echoes that didn't matter, something that surprised me too much, and that I realized I could control at will, focusing my attention on what I wanted. It didn't take long for me to find myself at incredible speed on the farthest wall of the prison. Being there, the guards began to mobilize due to my accident, and watching the situation, I was able to appreciate more intensely the functioning of the silver cord. On the other hand, looking back at the wall, I wondered why I hadn't crossed it. Something told me, "For now, Ray, that's enough." The importance of what was happening to my body manifested itself in a way similar to Earth's gravity. I felt pushed to calm Nando's nerves and feelings, but not before reflecting on how little I cared about him when I was in my body. Now, things that are truly true have changed. The spiritual reality was another world with different rules, different from the physical world. Powers were controlled by something that is neither feelings nor thoughts. Willpower was the great lever, but another force surpassed it in all areas. Staring at the wall, it began to disappear as if it became transparent and on the other side. My surprise at what I saw weakened my concentration. I felt myself falling backwards as if sitting in a chair and then being pulled like an elastic towards my physical body. My senses returned to me through laughter. Of course, this caused a lot of confusion, but the laughter was so strong that I just let myself go. What happened was simple. Returning to my body so quickly, with a movement similar to that of someone falling off a chair backwards, was enough to lift my legs quickly, hitting Nando's jaw and acting as a brake for my lower limbs and as a trigger for my abdominal muscles when poor Nando fell unconscious from the blow. There was no price for these minutes of life inside the prison. But the anecdote also taught me how precarious and volatile situations can be. There I was surrounded by guards and some prisoners who came to my aid and ended up helping Nando. Now it was he who was lying unconscious on the ground, and I was standing next to his body. Later, I would receive my friend's confession. He also experienced a separation of his spirit with my unintentional blow. His experience was much more terrifying than mine and more related to what lay beyond the wall. It is worth noting that this part of the prison was sparsely populated, reserved for acts, recitals, or conferences, events that happened very rarely in the year, and because of this same abandonment, it was prone to paranormal phenomena.